Welcome to the Flex Rental Solutions webinar. Today we're going to be talking about Flex5, specifically the new Flex5 tablet app that we've released recently to the general public. It's been in beta for a little while. Some of you have probably been using it for a few months now, but now the final released product is out. We've made some changes from the beta version, so I just want to walk through all of the different features and the functionality of the app so that you can know how to use it. So we're going to start with that, but then we're also going to talk a little bit more about just the Flex5 project in general. Flex5 is the code name for our HTML5 rewrite of the entire software. Slowly not being supported by different browsers, we're looking to get off of the Flash platform. So we've been working on this for several years now, and we'll talk about the different aspects of this project, why we decided to create the tablet and phone apps first, and what the progress is on the desktop app. Like I said, let's start with the tablet app. We want to walk through the functionality of this app, how you can download it, all the different features, and then we'll get to that other stuff. So I always recommend going to manual.flexrentalsolutions.com, and then you can navigate over to the Flex5 section, or you could just do /tablet, and that will take you to the manual for using the tablet app. If you go to the Getting Started section, you can find what our recommended devices and hardware. Overall, we always recommend the iPad. We find that it's just a little bit smoother performance and works a little bit better with the app. But if you are an Android user, you can certainly use the app with your Android device as well. We do have an iOS minimum requirement of iOS 10 and Android 5.0. And we also have some minimum, and we need to add this to the user manual, but there's a minimum screen resolution as well. So if you have a Android device that has a lower resolution, even though it's considered a tablet, you might run into some problems where it doesn't let you open the app. So we're currently reviewing that. I know we've had a few customers that have asked us about that already, so we're reviewing how we handle that, and we might make some changes to that. So if you find that you download the app on an Android device and it's telling you that you can't open it, then just let us know and we'll review that. And then to download the app, we have the links here, or you can just go to the respective store and search for Flex Rental Solution and find the Flex5 app. Again, this is only for tablet right now. If you try to search for it on your phone, you won't find it, but I'll give you an update on the progress of our phone app after we go through the functionality of tablet. So we're going to go through all of this in the webinar today, navigating the app, all the different features. But all this is here for you if you want to go back and review and watch some more official videos for each feature. So I've already downloaded my app on my iPad. I'm going to log in now, and you're just going to use the host name or the name that you would type into your browser bar for the desktop version. So it's typically yourcompanyname.flexrentalsolutions.com. I'm going to be using a test system today called F25 Demo. And then once you hit the period, it actually fills in the rest for you, so you don't have to type all that in. Username, I'm going to use a user I just set up. Actually, I think I called it Web Demo. And we'll log in. This is the first time I'm logging in with this user, so you're going to see my dashboard, and the widgets on the dashboard aren't set up yet. So the dashboard is a new concept that we came up with for Flex5. It kind of functions similar, or some of the widgets at least will function similar to a calendar. Granted, we'll still have calendars, especially in the desktop app, but we wanted to create this dashboard just because we asked ourselves the question, what problems are people trying to solve by using Flex? And that answer is different for every single one of our customers and for every single one of our users. So we wanted to create this dashboard environment where you can set up widgets that have actionable data and information that is applicable to you. So we've set up a couple widgets already. One is called the element list that you can see here on the left-hand side. We have a quick launcher widget that's just quick links to do different things in Flex, and then a contact schedule below that. And if you swipe over, we have a couple additional element list widgets. Excuse me. The reason that we provide several element list widgets is because you might want to set up several of them in different ways. So let's say, for example, that this one I just want to call upcoming jobs. Then I would choose which element types I'm going to show. Let's just say I want to see quotes and event folders. Now keep in mind, we don't have full viewing of quotes or event folders in the app as of now, but you can view the basic information like the dates, client, venue, etc. Could also filter by location. If you have multiple locations, then you could filter. If you choose none, it will just stay as all. Enabled statuses. This is where I can choose I only want to see jobs that are confirmed and maybe tentative. I could put inquiry in there as well, but let's just stick with those for now. I could choose a department, a fetch by date, if I want to choose something specific there, just like on a calendar. And then we have the list day and the past day window. So if I want to see jobs 30 days into the future, I'll leave that at 30. I could also look in the past. How many days in the past do I want to see? And then the additional list options are going to be what other information do I want to see in my widget. Right now it only is set up to show the name, the dates, and then the additional list option is status. But maybe I don't really care about the status, or you'll see in a minute the status color is going to show in this widget, so maybe I don't need to show the full name of the status. But I want to see client, venue, and account manager. So I'd choose those as my additional list options, and I can only choose 3. If I try to choose more, it tells me only 3 additional rows are allowed. So those are my additional list options. Now I'll hit save, and that creates my widget for me. Looks like I don't have a whole lot coming up, but I imagine your Flex systems will have quite a bit more when you set up a widget like that. If I need to change any of those settings, just hit the cogwheel, and it brings me back to my settings. And if I tap on any of these results, it just shows me the basic information. Again, we don't have the ability to open or edit quotes in the app as of yet, but at some point in the future we plan on adding that functionality. Contact schedule is pretty similar. We just go through and set up what I want to see. The only difference is that it's not going to let me choose an element because it's only going to be pulling crew calls. And what this will do is once I set it up, it will pull any crew call that I am assigned to, so the logged in user. So I'd say let's maybe just look for confirmed crew calls in the next 30 days. I know I'm not assigned to anything, so it's not going to show anything, but if I were assigned, if this user were assigned to any crew calls right now, then it would show up in that contact schedule. Let's flip over to my other page. Maybe I want to set up another widget that is just pull sheets that need to be prepped. So I'll just call it pull sheets. And you probably notice right now I have an external keyboard attached to my iPad, so that's why you don't see the keypad popping open, but most of you might when you're working on your iPad. So for this one, I'm just going to show pull sheets as my element type. And maybe I only want to see them from Salt Lake City because I work in the Salt Lake City warehouse, so I only want to see pull sheets from there. Enabled statuses, I would probably choose awaiting prep. Maybe even prep in progress if you use that status. And then my list and past day window, let's actually do a past day window of a couple days, just in case there are some things that I forgot to prep. And then for my additional list options, maybe I want to see venue, warehouse, and the load-in date and time. So there's my second element list widget and all the pull sheets that returned as results. We'll open one of those a little bit later and show you how to prep a pull sheet. And then my last one, just for the purposes of this demo, I want to set up an element list widget that only shows my manifests. Again, I'll probably just choose Salt Lake City location. Statuses, I probably want to see something like manifest created or prepped, because I only want to see things that need to be returned. So if it's in the return status, it won't show. And I probably definitely want a past day window on this one as well. Let's go like 10. Oops. I might as well go 30. And again, additional list options. Maybe I want to show status, loadout time, venue. Why not? And I don't even have to choose additional list options. That's just an option for you. So we'll come back to these in a little bit so that we can show how to prep and return jobs, but I just wanted to show how to set up those widgets. As of now, these are the only widgets that we have available. There's no way to add or remove them from a dashboard. But again, those are all things that we plan on adding in the future. This is just a brand new feature. We wanted to put out this proof of concept before we put too much work into it. Let's look at this quick launcher. Again, click the cog or tap the cog wheel. Oops, I hit the wrong one. Tap the cog wheel. And you'll see the options. Maybe I don't want to see settings there. Maybe I don't need to see content builder or whatever. And that will only show the options that I selected. Let's start by creating a new contact. So I'll tap that. This is pretty familiar, what you're used to in the desktop version of Flex. We don't have all the different features and functionality, so once we create the contact, it'll be somewhat basic. But we do have most of the functionality that you might be used to when you're creating a contact. And then I can start adding phone numbers and addresses just by tapping that plus. You can choose if it's the default. So I won't go through all of that, but you see how you can do that. And of course you could add multiple phone numbers, multiple addresses, etc. And so I've created that contact. Let's look at how we can search for and view a contact. So you just type in your search query. And if you didn't see what I did there, sorry, I'm moving a little bit fast. I just hit that search icon in the top right corner. Type in your search query and it will pull up results. I could do a quick view. I could just tap on results and do a quick view of information. And I can even interact with the different things here. If I tap the office phone, it gives me the options. I could call, FaceTime, send a message, add to my device contacts. If I tap email and address, it would open up my email and maps applications. And then I have different actions. I can open the full view of the contact, or I can upload or change the image. If I hit the three-dot menu up in the top right, I can edit or delete the contact. And we do have the schedule that will be coming soon as well. Of course, I can edit or delete directly from the search as well. Oops, I accidentally tapped the address. So there's the Flex offices. But if I want to delete, I just do that. Let's look at creating new inventory. So I'll tap New Inventory Model. And again, it's all very familiar, what you're used to in the desktop app. All of the same fields are there. It's just laid out a little bit different. If I go to primary group, once I tap on a group, that will be the selected group. So if I were to hit done right now, it would have selected audio, but I can keep going deeper. If I tap microphones, microphones is now the selected group. And then once I hit a group that doesn't have any child groups, then it will just automatically select. So if I hit wired, then it knows that's the end of the line, so it selected it for me. Could also choose an icon, and everything's pulling from your Flex database, the one that you have been using on your desktop. So all the information's the same. You don't have to set up anything new or different. And then the last required field, of course, is the preset. Let's just say this is a serialized model, and I won't fill in anything else. Tap Create, and there's my new inventory model. Once that opens, I can upload a model image. You could take a picture or choose from your device's image library. If it's the first time that you're doing it, just make sure that you allow access to the camera. The device will pop up a little thing that asks if you want to give access to Flex5 to use the camera. Make sure you say yes, or else you'll have to go into your system settings and do it that way. You can view quantities. If you have multiple locations and you tap through each location, and it will show you the quantities. Serial units. If you don't have any serial units yet, tap Add. And that's how you can add a serial unit. And again, it's just like you're used to on the desktop app. You give it a serial number if there is one. You could leave barcode blank, and it will just automatically assign one. Choose which location and the resource type, and then hit Create. And then we also have the inventory schedule. Let's look at an existing or an inventory model that actually has some more information that might be interesting. So let's search for something like Sure. Let's open this microphone. So again, just like our contacts, you can view the quick info here and just tap through and see that really fast information about the inventory. You can go straight to the serial units tab, the schedule, or you could just open the inventory model. So we should have a little more information here. We have some more quantities. Go to my serial units tab. You'll notice that it's showing me the current location. If it's past due, the current location shows up in red. I can tap on a serial unit to view the information about that unit. And I can even open the full view of the serial unit and view its maintenance log and its scan log. Let's take a second and look at how you can log maintenance as well. So I can log maintenance either just from the serial units list on the inventory, and tap log maintenance, or I could have opened the whole serial unit and tap the log maintenance action there. I could add images. And then hit Create. So let's open that full serial unit again and look at the maintenance log, and it should show that one that I just created. And I can edit or delete that maintenance log. And when I have a full serial unit open, I could hit that three-dot menu and edit and delete that serial unit as well. And so that's how you can create and view inventory in the app. Let's look at some of our scanning screens now. We have inquiry scan, free scan in, free scan out. Inquiry scan is just a very basic, I just want to type in or scan inventory. and it will pull up the information about that inventory. The way that I have this device hooked up to my computer right now, I am not getting sounds coming through, but it will play your sound theme. In fact, if you hit the cogwheel at the bottom, you can choose which sound theme plays. You can also choose which location you're scanning from by tapping the location down at the bottom. But as I scan things, it will create a list of everything that I've scanned, and I could tap through to view my history, open any of those units, log maintenance. That's probably one of the main reasons you might be using the inquiry scan, is if you see something that's damaged or find something damaged, you could scan it, an inquiry scan, and then just go right to log maintenance on it. You can also use the camera to scan. So let me pull out my list of barcodes. I'm going to tap the camera up in the top right, and see there's that message. It wants to access the camera, so I'm going to say OK. And let's see, there's my camera. That's a little awkward. So you can scan barcodes with the camera, and it will recognize them and pull them up on any of the scanning screens. You can also hook up a Bluetooth scanner. I don't have one. Well, I do have one, but it wasn't charged. I should have prepared for that. But if you have a Bluetooth scanner, then you can hook it up to your device, and then you can go into Bluetooth mode, the little icon right next to the camera. And what that does is just puts the cursor into the barcode field. And even if I interact with the screen in any other way, then it will put the cursor back into the barcode field. Because when you hook up a Bluetooth scanner to the app or to your device and use it with the app, then you don't need to set it up the same way you do with the desktop app. You don't need that Shift 6 character. Really all you need to do is just make sure that the barcode or the cursor is in the barcode input field, and then it will just send the barcode. So you'll probably, if you're using the same kind of scanner, you'll have to set it up a little bit different than how you use it on desktop. But just know that you're just sending the barcode and the enter key. You don't need that Shift 6 key. But yeah, when you enter Bluetooth scan mode, that does the work for you of putting the cursor into the barcode input field, and I could tap around and do stuff, and it always stays in that input field. Free scan in and free scan out are pretty similar. Of course, if I'm on free scan out, then anything that I scan is going to be scanned out of inventory. And what we did, we set up what we call continuous camera scanning. So when you hit the camera, it's always going to, oh, it looks like I scanned a model. But when you hit the camera, it's always going to keep that camera open until you say cancel. So it'll keep popping open until I say, well, I'm done with camera scanning, hit cancel, and it closes. That's just so you can rapidly go through and keep scanning with that camera instead of having to hit the camera icon every time you want to scan. So again, once you open the camera scanning, it will stay open until you hit cancel. It'll keep popping open after each scan. Same with free scan in. Same features. I could just tap up here and start entering barcodes. I could connect a Bluetooth scanner and hit the Bluetooth mode. Or I can use the device's camera. Trying to get it to stop scanning. There we go. It's a lot harder to demo on this when I just have a list of barcodes as opposed to actual inventory. But that's how that works. And of course, this will scan the inventory back in. So you really want to make sure that you have the right location selected just like you do on the desktop app. And if you scan something in that's damaged, you could log maintenance on it. You could open the unit. And if you scan something that has that's like out of commission or has any prompts or anything like that, then Flex will prompt you to ask if you want to resolve or mark it unsold or something like that. If you scan a non-serialized model, just like in the desktop app, if you have multiple locations, or I'm sorry, if you have multiple jobs that have this non-serialized model on it, then it will show you those jobs and you can return them via free scan in. Or I could hit return all and it would automatically fill in all of those. If I'm in Bluetooth mode and if I'm using a scanner that doesn't have a keypad, I could hit this little keypad down at the bottom here and it will pop in and out for me. So let's exit out of this. And let's jump over to a pull sheet and manifest so that we could show how those work, because those are a little bit more complex. We're not just showing the information of what you just scanned. For a pull sheet and for manifest, we have to show what is actually on that pull sheet, what is actually on that manifest. So when I tap a pull sheet from my element list widget and then hit go to prep screen, it's going to show me that pull sheet. We needed to show the UI a little bit different just because we couldn't really fit grids well onto a tablet interface. So we went with more of a list and nested list user interface. So the first thing you'll see is any subtotals that you might have, and then if you tap one of those subtotals, then it will show the items that are in that subtotal. If you have any virtual packages like this Sure ULXD here, I could tap View Child Lines, and it will show everything that's inside of it. Then just hit this little back arrow, and it will bring me back. So again, if I just tap the actual model name, so I just tap here in the Mackie SRM450 speaker area, that's just going to show me the information about that model. But if I tap View Child Lines, then it shifts over and shows any child contents to that. Go into video, same kind of thing. There's a screen package. Let's view child lines. There's everything that's in that package. So there's a few ways that you can scan on the prep and return screens. Of course, you could just use the camera like we've been using. You can go into Bluetooth scan mode and use a barcode scanner that you've connected to your device. But you can also just navigate to the inventory model and you could do a virtual scan. Now this is a serialized model, so if I do a virtual scan on this, it's going to pop up a list of all of the unit barcodes. Usually not the best way to scan. I'm going to do it anyway just because it's faster for me while I'm demoing. And notice what happens. I scanned all of those speakers, but there's still child lines that need to be scanned. And so it gives me that warning icon. Then I can go and look at the child lines. Oh, it looks like I didn't scan the case that it belongs to. It looks like I didn't scan any of these. But you know what I want to do is actually go back and do this right, because usually I have these speakers in cases and I scan the case to scan them out. So let's do this. Let's hit the cogwheel. Let's look at our scan history. And I can go and undo all of these scans. So I want to undo the prep scan for each of these in my scan history. It's going to turn red to let me know that I undid it. And if I go back to the pull sheet and refresh, that no longer shows them as prepped. Took them off the manifest, put them back in my warehouse. But let's exit prep for a minute because I want to show you the other cool feature that we have, which is Content Builder. So Content Builder is pretty similar to what you're used to, except you're not going to access it from the serial unit. Content Builder is now its own warehouse scanning page. So if I want to use Content Builder, I would find the case, and again, I could either use my Bluetooth scanner, my camera. In this case, let's use a camera. Open up the case. Here are the storage requirements for that case, and it looks like I don't have any of that prepped yet because I'm seeing 0 quantities prepped. So let's prep those. I can either tap the model and do a virtual scan, or I could scan the non-serialized barcode, but let's just do a virtual scan in this case. And then I can also go, oops, I accidentally scanned that again, which closed it. Let's go back to build container. And then let's use the camera to scan the 2 speakers that are in that case. And so now it's complete. We can see the progress bar complete at the bottom. Everything has green check marks. We're good to go. I can also scan things that aren't storage requirements. So let's find something, for example. Here we go. I have in my little book a microphone. So if we scan that, what it does is creates a model record for that, and then I can view all the units that I scanned for that model into this case. And then when I'm done, I could scan the case barcode again and it will close it, or I could just hit this back arrow and it brings me back to the main list. And the really cool thing about Content Builder in the app is that now I don't have to open another serial unit to start building it. All I have to do is just stay in my Content Builder, scan my next case. Looks like that one's already built, so we're good to go. I'll scan that case again. It closes it, brings me back to my main list. And then I'll go ahead and scan the next case. So I could have 10 cases open, go into Content Builder, just scan the case, scan the contents, scan the case again, and it will close it and bring me back to this main list. And this is my history of all the cases that I've scanned during this session. And I can go back and open that again. Let's say that this is incorrect. I want to remove all content, so I'll hit the cogwheel. And I have the option to remove all contents. Let's say I only want to remove these IEC cables, so I'll tap that and then say remove all quantities. Or I want to remove all of these speakers. I can remove all units. Or if I just want to remove a specific unit, I would say view units for that speaker, tap on one of those units, and just remove that specific serial unit. Let's remove all contents. And so now that needs to be rebuilt. So that's how the Content Builder works. And again, you can use the camera, you can use a Bluetooth scanner and go into Bluetooth mode. But we've been finding that this is a really nice way to do Content Builder. A lot of customers that have been using it just say it's a lot faster and easier to use than the way that we did it on the desktop. So let's go back to our prep, because now that we have some of these, actually I want to go back, open this one and make sure, oh, I just scanned one extra of the IEC, so that's fine. I can live with that. But what I want to do is go back to the prep of this job, and now instead of scanning those items individually, I'm just going to scan the case, that container that I just built. And it should work just like we're used to. Oh, and it looks like we set this one up as a free pick container, which I don't want to open right now, so I'll just say no, but it will still scan the units. See, notice what happened. We have view child lines for audio, everything updated. So I don't even need to be in the actual subtotal to be able to scan things. I could just be sitting on this parent level and start scanning, and things will start updating as we go. But if we drill into here, then we can see I scan one case that scanned 2 speakers, those extra IEC cables, and then I could continue prepping that way. So I'm not going to go through a full prep, but you get the idea. You can scan cases just like you're used to. You could do virtual scanning. You'll even notice too that when I have the speaker case open, I could go to Content Builder directly from here, just in case I need to build some containers before I scan them out. Could also do substitution scans. Let's say that I find that I don't have enough of these LS9 mixers, so I could do a substitute scan. It tells me my next scan is going to substitute for that line, and I'll scan out a Behringer instead. So substitution scan just like you're used to. But I think we've covered most of how you can use prep. Like I said, we're not going to do the full prep, but we'll just kind of navigate through a few more of these so you can see how it works. Again, if you tap just the model name, it will show you the model information and the options that you have for that. But if you tap View Child Lines, it will shift over and show any child line items that are associated with that model. The cogwheel options include, we already showed viewing the scan history, but you can also view the manifest. And then go back to the pull sheet. A cool tip, whenever you're in manifest or scan history view, you can always just tap the PS icon right up in the top left, and that brings you back to the pull sheet. Then we can also finalize from here. And then unfinalize it if I want to. But again, the cool thing is that all of this is communicating back to your server, and then you'll see those changes. Like if I go to the prep screen for this job in Flex4, it shows everything that I did. It's finalized. It shows the things that I prepped and got checked off, and vice versa. If I were to unfinalize here and start prepping a few items, then those changes would be reflected. I'll have to exit and then re-enter, or I could just refresh. If I pull down, it will refresh it. But it's not finalized anymore, and it will show any of the things that were prepped from the desktop version. So it works really well. It's just working on, so there's a webinar job. Go to return screen. Here's the list of everything that I scanned, and very similar functionality. If I tap the model, it just shows me what options I have. I could virtually scan it, log maintenance on it. I could use the camera to be scanning items. I could use a Bluetooth scanner, enter Bluetooth mode. So if I virtual scan this non-serialized, it will just ask how many I'm returning. If I virtually scan a serialized model, then it's just going to scan it. And then I could also do this. Let's go back to, let me open up my little cheat sheet. I'm going to use my camera to scan this case. And then let's also scan the speakers that are in it. And you'll see those returning as we go. And I also believe we have a cheat sheet barcode for those IEC cables, so we can do that. Oh, but I did 3. I forgot I accidentally added 3 in there, so there's one that's still not returned. But let's just say that 2 return, and that's fine. And then I could go back. I could look at the barcode, tap on this speaker case, and then go straight to Content Builder. And then rebuild that case with the speakers that are currently in it. It's a really fast way to go back into Content Builder mode and be able to rebuild a container without having to navigate too much. And then hit X and it just takes me right back to the return. And so I see the question, can you mark something out of commission? And yes, when I scan something, then I could just hit, I don't want to go back into camera mode, but I could hit log maintenance and it gives me the option to mark it out of commission as I log maintenance on it. And then the options that we have here, scan history, you could finalize, change your sound theme, change your scanning location. Very similar to what we saw on the prep. And then one of the last things I want to look at is a new feature that we have called the manifest signature. So if I tap on a manifest from my element list and then hit manifest signature, I could have somebody sign for the manifest. It looks like I'm having some internet issues, but that's saved, it looked like. And the really cool part is that if I go back to the desktop version, go to that manifest, and if I run the shipping manifest, then whatever signature was captured from the app will show up on the shipping manifest. If there was no signature captured, then it's not going to show anything. But because I signed on the app, then it shows up on the shipping manifest that I ran from the desktop. So that's a pretty cool feature. Just tap on a manifest, hit manifest signature, and this is ideally meant for the person who is receiving the inventory. So if somebody's doing like a dry rental and they're picking this inventory up, or if you're delivering it to them, they could sign for it just as a way to verify that they received it. And then, like I said, that shows up on the shipping manifest report. So that's a cool new feature that we put into the app. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any major functionality. Of course, you could always hit the hamburger menu and do a lot of the same kind of stuff that we've been doing. You could look at your settings. There's not much there, just some locale settings and version stuff. And then we ask that if you have any feedback of the app, just hit that hamburger menu, say send app feedback, and that will pop up a form for you to leave some feedback for your app experience. Now, granted, I've been seeing some questions in the chat room already of things that you notice that we can't do in the app, and I just want to make it clear this is very much the first stab at the tablet app. We wanted to put in as much as we could that was day-to-day functionality for most people, but of course we still want to add things like POs, receiving things like that. At some point we'll have some basic quote viewing and editing. We don't really have a timeline for that right now, but those are definitely things that we want to add to the app in the future. We just wanted to get this off the ground and have at least a very useful warehousing app that it has some other good features too. You can view inventory schedules, contacts, and things like that. Now, one of the main reasons that we have the tablet app before anything else is kind of the next thing that I wanted to get into and explain. A couple years ago, we decided that instead of just taking our desktop app and giving it a new HTML5 face, a user interface, we also wanted to fix some of the long-standing back-end issues that we've had in Flex. So our developers decided that we're going to create new APIs, basically a new back-end that is going to be a lot more, the performance is going to be better, it's going to be faster, it's just going to cut out a lot of the inefficiencies that are in the back end of the Flex Flash version right now. And so what that means is that not only have we been working on the user interface for this tablet app and doing some exploratory work on the user interface for the desktop application, but we've also been digging into the back end and rewriting APIs from basically from the beginning. We're reusing some things from the old Flex4 backend, but a lot of it is being rewritten, redone, and then we're putting the new user interface on top of that. And so what that means, and I have a couple of graphics that we created to explain some of this. You have a user interface, and this can be anything from your desktop application to a tablet application to a phone application. And then you have APIs that are a common API that all of those user interfaces will use to communicate with your Flex database. So your database is going to have all your inventory information, all of your quotes, contacts, and then APIs are used to call that information to write new information to your database. So an example might be, I make a date change in the user interface that communicates with the API to record that to the database, and then the database will send out that information through the API to update the user interface with any new dates. So what that means is that with the new API that we're building, we can build any user interface that we want on it. And so we built new APIs for inventory, for scanning, for a few other things, and that's where the tablet app came out of. But now that a lot of those APIs are built, it's not going to take us over a year to create the phone app. In fact, the phone app is close to done because we're using those same APIs, and a lot of the user interface was pretty similar, but we just needed to change a few things. But because the APIs were already in place, it was a lot easier and faster to create the phone app. We're hoping to see a phone app released within the next month or month and a half. We don't have a solid date on that yet, but that should be coming pretty quick. Like I said, just because all it was creating that new user interface, the APIs were already there. And you might see what I'm getting at with this. Since the APIs are already there, when it comes to creating the desktop application in HTML5, really all we have to do is just create that front end, use the APIs that are already existing that we've created, and so that should go a lot quicker than the tablet app process went, because the tablet app, we spent most of our time designing those APIs. So granted, there's still a lot of APIs we have to create for the desktop app. We haven't done much with financial documents, quoting, system settings, and things like that. So we're creating those now, and we're creating some of the user interface for those things right now in the desktop app. And then when we get to things like inventory and scanning, the things that we've already created the APIs for here in the Flex5 tablet app, it will be a lot easier to port those over into the desktop application because the API is already there. So that's kind of the process of how we, or the strategy, I guess, that we had for going forward with the Flex5 project. We wanted to create those new APIs, and we're still working on those. There's still a lot more to do. But we thought the tablet app would be a pretty easy win to get that out quickly. Same with the phone app, to use those new APIs, use a new user interface while we're working on the desktop app. And so I'm happy to report that we do have some pretty good progress on the desktop app. Of course, there's a long way to go just because we have so many different screens and so much different functionality. But right now our developers are working really hard on getting financial document views over on the desktop app in HTML5. They're getting those new APIs built. And the good thing about that is because they're building the APIs for financial documents for the desktop, when we're ready to do financial document views on the tablet app, those APIs are already built. So we just need to create the user interface and connect through those APIs. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you understand kind of the vision and the process that we're going through for the Flex5 project. We do get that question all the time. People say, well, it's great you have this tablet app, but when are we going to see things on desktop? And we don't have a specific answer for that. We're working on it right now. All of our developers are dedicated to the desktop HTML5 project right now as well. So as we have updates on that, we will share them with you. We're hoping to see at least some stuff that we can show you within hopefully the next few months. Of course, we're not going to give a solid date on that because it's pretty variable, but we're hoping that we can at least share some screenshots of some of the things that we've been working on, and then eventually into next year we'll start being able to give you access to the things that we've been working on. And you'll be able to access Flex5 for desktop in different stages. So once we have financial documents, inventory, scanning ported over, you'll be able to call up the HTML5 user interface for desktop and be able to use that, while system settings and things like that might still be in Flash. So we're very much aware of the end of life of Flash. We know that that's coming up soon, and we're working really hard to get off of that platform and everything into HTML5. So that is basically the overview of what we've been working on and what the future holds. I know that I don't have a lot of details of what desktop is going to look like and when that's going to be available, but we are going to be very transparent about that. We're going to post blogs about it, do webinars about it as we make progress on it. So don't think it's going to be another year and a half before you see any updates on that. We'll make sure that you are very much aware of the progress that we're making on that.